What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I want to talk about the upcoming RBET, which will be this Saturday. It is a EU-friendly tournament. I believe it's going to start earlier in the morning, 10 a.m. Check out the E3 Discord channel to find out more information about that tournament. But today I wanted to talk about some of the decks I believe will make the top cut. I am beginning to realize that it's harder and harder to really predict the top decks that will actually, make the top cut of a tournament. I think a lot of it now really boils down to who is piloting the decks. I do believe that now. I think often we would just look at the deck and say, yeah, there's going to be 3 or 4 of these in the top cut, but we kind of disregard the players playing the decks. And over these last few months, I've looked at decks. I'll use Diva Hero for an example. Everybody believes that deck is just, at one point, was just gone, wasn't relevant. Over a year ago, it was probably considered to be the best deck of the time, but then over the past year, it's fallen out of favor and just hasn't been winning much. Aside from one player, a true hero has been topping events with the deck. So what I'm trying to get at here is that it's possible that we see a Diva Hero deck top the tournament, because if he plays, there's a good chance that he can just top with the deck because he's good with the deck. So I think that we kind of need to take that into consideration when we're looking at potential decks that are going to make the top cut. Another example is zombies. I've tried to have some discussion in the Discord server regarding why we haven't seen as many zombie decks in the top cut, despite them still being fairly popular. And aside from Soul's run at the first RBET, which is going back a couple months now, if we look at the Peak of the Beak tournament that passed, a lot of the in-person paper tournaments, just not seeing zombies winning those events. And I do believe at Deck Devastators 3, I believe, it was the most, or maybe it was RBET 1 of this season. It was the most played deck. There was 23 of them. I remember seeing the statistics. Crow's Nest channel, Snack, she's really into the statistics, and she gets a lot of data and really tries to spit out information for everybody to review. But the deck was the most popular deck played, and yet there was only one in the top 16. Granted, Soul ended up winning the whole event with it, but I do believe that the deck is difficult to play, and just because something's popular doesn't necessarily mean it's guaranteed to top. And I think that there needs to be specific players playing certain decks to see them likely top. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Another example would probably be Gladiator Beast. I know of a few really good Gladiator Beast players. The deck is not overly popular, but any given time, if they're on that specific deck, you could see them make a deep run in a tournament. Fairies, another example. You don't really see the deck top very much aside from when Pro Storm plays the deck. So for me to just say, yeah, Fairies are going to top is probably not that smart unless I know that Pro Storm's playing on Fairies, right? So anyway, this video is just going to be quick. Dueling Book is not cooperating today. It's been very laggy, so we're just going to kind of go through this. These are some of the decks I think will top, just because I think the decks are good and a lot of good players are playing the decks in general. There are, in this format, that's why it's so great that there are so many decks out you can play, and some players like myself really just are drawn to one specific deck, and they kind of just main that deck and play it in every event. So obviously those players tend to be a little bit better with the deck. They've refined it, they play it all the time. But these decks here that I'm kind of showcasing are the decks that seem to be pretty popular right now, and a lot of the majority, I should use quote unquote, pro players just kind of been hopping on and off some of these decks that are in the video today. So Christius one here hasn't really been seen in the top cut recently. I do believe that there has been some paper tournaments where they made it in the top cut, and some of the like YCS videos where you see them win mats and stuff. I don't believe any topped the Peak of the Beak recently, and the lists have not been dropped yet for the first Edison World Championship qualifier tournament that just took place this past weekend, but I don't believe any made the top cut as well. I do think the deck is really, really good. I don't know if it's just not that popular or if the right player is playing it, but this deck here, I wouldn't be overly surprised if we saw at least one in the top cut this coming weekend. It's just a deck that can win. It's really good against a Frog deck, which is very popular right now, and just has a fair matchup against other decks, but I feel like it has a good matchup against the Frog deck. So I do expect that one of these would probably top. So that would be the first one we would review here. I'm not sure whose deck list this exactly is, but it's been pretty well refined by the original creators of the list there. I think it was Mumix and Arc actually worked on the list together. Right out of the gate, it's pretty much reached its peak form already. They really did a good job making the deck. So this is the Chrysius Horn deck. Black Wings. So I have Black Wings, and that is value. Let's see what else I have here. So Black Wings, where regardless if it's hybrid or straight Blackwing, I think that you will see at least 2 of these in the top cut. They have all of a sudden just come out, like one tournament we didn't have any Blackwing in the top cut, and then all of a sudden now they're like 2 or 3 of them in the top cut of the last event, I believe. So I personally like the hybrid build. I know that there's a debate which one's better. I think the hybrid build is just extremely explosive. It actually won Deck Devastator's, Peak of the Beak that just passed. It was a hybrid build that won. The deck is extremely explosive. Always seems to have an out. Either of them are fine. I don't, you could probably coin flip it, to be honest. I'm not a Blackwing main. I don't really play this deck all the time, but from my experience of playing the limited games I have, I kind of like the hybrid build. But I would expect that this is going to kind of cement itself back in the top 8 cut where we've normally seen it. This is Value Turbo. This deck I thought was kind of like dropping out of S tier and maybe falling into A tier. There was a period of time over the last couple months where this deck kind of just didn't really do well at all. I'm not entirely sure why. I think at the time, I don't know, Frogs kind of beat it pretty easily, just because like nothing in the deck can really deal with a 2400 Monarch. But then I think that there's been a shift a bit, because this is the best Deck Devastation Virus deck, hands down, which this card just blows out Frogs. Fossil Dyne is also very good against Frogs, and you can pretty well play this here in this build because of the fact that you kind of control when you're going to be removing the values anyway. Royal Oppression can be hit or miss against a Frog deck. If it's a hero build, it's really good against it. Otherwise, they could just Monarch and put it back on the top of the deck with like a Ryza or Kaios it. But this deck is generally good against everything else. Specifically, the Hamster, Raikou, Kaios play I always talk about, like that can just beat certain matchups right off the bat. So this deck is really, really strong right now. A lot of people are on it. Again, is it just because a lot of people weren't playing it? And, it's hard to say if it ever really was bad. But this deck I would expect to see in the top cut. I would be surprised if it didn't make it. Again, I don't know if 10 Foot has been playing in a lot of tournaments. He's one of the better value players. I think we had Hydro Pump on the build. When you start seeing some of these really good players playing this deck, then it's more likely to top. You can have 50 players playing it, but you have 5 of the best players of the game playing the deck. I think that weighs more than just having 50 random people playing it, in my opinion. But obviously math would say otherwise, of course. And then we have Frogs. So this deck actually, I don't believe, made the top cut of this tournament this past weekend, but every time I was watching stream, there was Frogs on stream. It was just so popular. I don't know the deck breakdown. I really can't tell you how many were there. I don't know if they were just kind of beating each other and knocking each other out of the tournament, but this deck is not going anywhere right now. It's, again, in my opinion, it's the best deck of the format, that and Black Wings, but I've said that many a times. I just think that this deck is really good. And of course, there's players that are much better with it. I always go back to saying Rognock, Frazier. When those guys are playing this deck, it's more than likely going to make the top cut. I think Frazier just went undefeated at a 2K tournament with a Frog build, Monarch build. The deck is really good, and when you have a player that really knows how to play the ins and outs of the deck, it just makes it that much better. I would be surprised if it did not make the top cut, at least one of them, because right now Rognock has pretty much been topping everything he plays in, so I'm guessing he's probably going to play in this tournament. It's more friendly for his time zone, I believe, so I would expect to see a Frog deck in the top cut. Then we have Hero Beat here. This deck has gotten extremely popular recently as well. There was a time where I've heard players believe that this was the best deck of the format at one point, very early on, just because it's very, very consistent. I think Arc just won a Black Rose tournament with a build. I don't think this is his build or not, but similar. They're all pretty similar. I think his plays the Diva package. It's probably better than this, but it does different things. I can't say it's better or not. They just have 2 different goals. But this deck here, I think this is Lydia's, and the card's really, really good. Skill Drain in the main deck just shuts down a lot of stuff. The deck is extremely consistent. Like I said, you play a low monster count because you can search them all out with E-Call. There's really not a direct counter to the deck, I would say. It has an answer for just about everything, except if maybe the opponent sticks a big monster and you just don't have a specific out to it, it'd probably just lose because you're really relying on an 1900 vanilla monster essentially for the plays to work. But Absolute Zero is just so good. Miracle Fusion just really makes this deck have such a high ceiling. So I wouldn't be surprised if this deck makes the top cut. Lydiub is a really good player. He's been on a roll lately. If he plays this deck, it's a good chance he makes a good run with it. So those are pretty much the main decks I have up. And then, of course, I have my zombie list from Deck Devastators. This is the last time I actually get to play in a Premier Tournament. It's been like 3 months. There's about a 20% chance I'm actually able to play this weekend. If I play, I like to believe that I'll top. I've topped like 5 out of 6 of these tournaments I played in, so there's a chance I top. And again, I don't know if Siltrus is playing. He plays the hero zombies. If he plays, it really gives zombies a good shot at playing. And I'm not saying that nobody else has any chance at all topping, but again, I'm making my point where I do believe now. I think we should look into players playing specific decks, which will then increase the chances of those decks topping. So again, I don't know if I'll be able to play or not, but good luck to those that are. Edison War League is starting this Saturday night. Will be the first week. Week 1 will kick off. There is a free agency period that will start week 3. So if you're not on a team right now, I recommend joining the Discord server. And then week 3, teams are going to be able to add and drop players, and that'll get you a shot at playing. And tomorrow at this point, I hope to be able to make a video with Insidious and talk about the rules and do a little bit of housekeeping and really just talk about the expectations of War League and give people kind of a rundown so we can really run these first few weeks smoothly until players get a good feel for the expectations and how the process works. Again, we're pretty close to 700 subscribers. If you would like, comment, and subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. Helps the channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next one.